Welcome to the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold podcast for authentic dating in Denver. My name is Dave Glazer, your host and facilitator, where each week we bring expert guests to come share their knowledge, tools, and tips so that we can show up as our most authentic self. Hi, welcome back to the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold podcast. I'm excited to introduce my special guest from New York City, Ms. Ali Kresta. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so very much for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to jump on.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We met through Instagram. As you know, it's pretty common that the social media makes the world a really small place nowadays. But we got to chatting and we connected over how challenging dating and single parenthood and running a fitness and nutrition business is all at the same time.
Yes. It's very challenging. I feel like the week I'm just like burnt out by the weekends because Monday through Friday, I'm just like hustle, hustle, hustle. So yeah. I'm glad we can finally connect on a weekend, a childless weekend.
Yep. I can completely relate to that because while I was building my personal training business, I was bartending at night and I was in a relationship and I was a father and I wanted to have a social life. And, you know, some things just kind of have to go by the wayside sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. You have to make room for the really important things.
And speaking of that, what are your top priorities right now? Like how and why do you get so busy throughout the week?
So I'm working as a writer. I'm a staff writer for a magazine. So that takes up most of my time during the week. I do that 4 days a week. And then the rest of the time I have my fitness business, my training, group fitness classes. I also do corporate wellness and fitness at Google. So I am running all over the place around the city in New York, Monday through Friday. And it's long hours, not necessarily because I'm sitting in one job for like 16 hours, but I have classes that I teach early in the morning, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And then I have my writing job and I'll write for 6 to 8 hours. And then I have another class or I have an event or whatever it is that I'm doing that day. So it's mostly, honestly, just like running around from location to location that eats into my day. But yeah, by the time I get to Friday, I'm just completely like burnt out. I just want to like watch Netflix and or spend time with my son.
Sure. So why is it that you're so passionate about serving people through fitness?
Well, I think that fitness is kind of the foundation when it comes to living your best life and being your best self. I think that through fitness, you can not only feel better in your body because you're taking care of your health and you're working out and you're feeling good in your body and you feel good in your clothes. But it also, there's this whole like mental and psychological component to fitness that will translate into your everyday life. So for example, something that I teach in my classes is I try to use words and give them tools to use outside of the studio. So if we're in a ride class, if I'm teaching spin, I will help them get through the workout with these mental like triggers, I guess. And the tools that they're using in the workout, they can use in their job, and they can use in their relationships. They can overcome challenges through fitness and have that extend into the rest of their life, which is kind of what I do at Google. I'm very like specific in my program there where they really want me to focus on job productivity and just like an overall lifestyle wellness. And so that's really important there too.
And it completely sounds like you're passionate about it. I totally agree that there is a mind-body connection between the personal growth I've seen in fitness and nutrition, and your purpose aligns very much so with why I do what I do. We just accomplish it in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, nutrition is a big part of it too, because how your body responds to food can affect you emotionally and psychologically. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that. People don't realize that they're going through a really hard time mentally or emotionally, and it has a lot to do with their level of activity or the foods that they're eating or not eating. And so I try to guide people in my fitness business to make better choices.
Same here, absolutely. When I'm not on point with my regular exercise or my nutrition, I start to get irritable and a little bit anxious and just cranky, and I wouldn't
Yeah,
want to be around myself at that
I
time.
know. I do too. And I just start to get like almost uncomfortable in my body. And then that kind of spills over into like my mood or my motivation, my creativity. It just spills into all kinds of my productivity too. Um, so that's why I think that it really is the foundation of kind of getting your life to the next level.
I'm 100% on board with that. And if I could live out the rest of my life preaching the same exact um, mind body philosophy as you just described, I would be a happy man. But the reason why I wanted to connect so badly is I wanted to pick your brain on what it's like to be a busy entrepreneur and a busy mom and yet still make time for dating.
Um, I don't know if I'm making as much time for dating as I should. To be honest, I haven't been like an active dater in a while. So, because I am so focused on other things, I am focused on my business, I'm focused on being a good mom, I'm focused on my family relationships and my friendships. And it's really important to me to nourish those relationships, especially after being married to someone who I felt like I kind of lost sight of how important those relationships are. So it was really important for me to kind of like rebuild and like nourish those relationships and get those into a place where I felt like really good about those. I'm sorry, I got a notification on my computer. Um, to feel really good about those relationships. And so actively dating, I guess I don't go out on dates on the regular. Let's just say that. I am on the apps though. And I've been on the apps for a while. And I think I've tried out a bunch of different ones, but the only one that I've used is Bumble. That's the only one that I've ever met anyone on or like talked to anyone on. But I have like downloaded the other ones just to see what they were like. But Bumble is the one that I have used.
Why is it that it resonates with you so much and you found success there versus the others?
That's a good question. I did download, I think it's called Happen or something. And that one, I just personally, I didn't feel safe on it because it's an app that tells you like who's close to you in terms of like geographic like location. And it'll tell you like where someone has crossed paths with you. So I personally feel like for women, it's not a safe choice because if a guy is interested in you and you're not interested in them, they could easily see where they cross paths with you and just like happens. I feel like it's a stalking app. For me personally, I didn't use it. I didn't feel safe on it. So I like deleted it. Um, but and then Tinder I used for maybe like a day. And to be honest, no offense to anyone that's on Tinder, I'm sure that I like my brother and his girlfriend met on Tinder. Like, no offense, but and I gave it a day, but so it wasn't a long time. But the quality of people that I was finding on Tinder was just not like on the level that I, I guess, would be expecting. Or so that app was also gone. So I just use Bumble. It's also easy to use. Like the interface is really like user friendly, and I'm very inconsistent with it though. So I'm not. I definitely don't check it every day. I'm very sporadic with it, but that's just because I get busy. Like
Yeah, we all do, absolutely. And I love how Bumble is intentionally trying to create a safe space for women to date.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's another huge component about it that I liked. I like that I am in charge. I like that I don't have to message someone if I don't want to. I like that my location is hidden. Where I frequent is not available for people to see. Yeah, so for me, that's my personal choice when it comes to the dating apps.
what's something that stands out that's an immediate swipe left for you?
Ah, so many things. Let's see. Immediate swipe left.
In Colorado, it's fish pictures.
Fish pictures.
Yeah,
What does
like
that mean?
a guy or a girl with a fish in their profile picture.
A fish?
Yeah,
What is
because
that? What does that mean?
we're an outdoor kind of lifestyle
Oh,
community.
like fishing.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
actually show a
yeah,
picture of their fish.
yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Here for me, it would be. Oh man, I don't want to sound so overtly negative, but the ones that just seem like they're trying too hard. Like they're all like only adventure pictures or only one type of like or only oh my gosh, only selfies. Guys who post only selfies is an automatic left. Like women want to see that a guy is well rounded, has friends, has a job, and just seems like a normal guy who seems kind and friendly. But or any like too much like showing too much skin is also like a turn
A
off for me
shirtless
for
selfie is a swipe left for you.
yeah. Yeah, selfies showing like too much of their body.
So, how much can you gather based on a first impression like that of somebody else? I mean, is it true to form that they're showing up authentically in person after your first impression of them on the app?
Hmm. I don't think so because I think it's really easy for people to some people are really good at projecting a persona or, you know, like this image of themselves, whether it's on social media, whether it's on a dating app. And some people aren't good at that. So there could be some really, really great guys or women out there that are just not good at kind of projecting an accurate representation of themselves online or on the apps. But the people who are good at it can be completely and totally different in person. And I've been pretty lucky that I've met the the few guys that I have met off the apps have been like pretty decent guys. Like I haven't been like catfish or I don't really have any kind of like horror stories about it at all. But I hear a lot of stories from different people, both men and women, about these kinds of situations where either it wasn't the person in the picture at all, or they were just like really, really old pictures or something. Um, yeah.
I hear that's pretty common also. So I'm guessing from your professionalism and how busy you are that it's something you need to be intentional about when you do meet up with somebody in person.
Yeah.
Your standards are pretty high, and if you're gonna maybe get a babysitter or send your son with your dad, I think is where he's at this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're gonna take the time to set all that up logistically, you're gonna maybe tune into your intuition and choose somebody that you're actually vibing with.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely am not the kind of person who will just go out on a date just to date, just because it's something to do. I have other things, many other things that I need to be doing first. Not that I think that that's a bad idea. I think that if you're going by, like numbers, the numbers game, you have to go on more dates if you really want to find someone that you connect with and to build something lasting and fulfilling with. You have to go on a lot of dates because a lot of those dates are not going to turn into anything. So you kind of have to do that. But at the same time, for someone like me in my situation, I don't see the value in just going out with people if I don't think that there's a possibility of building something that's meaningful.
And it also sounds like, based on your professionalism, you're not mixing business with pleasure either.
No.
So you're not going out with clients.
No. Oh, no. In fact, I only have one male client and he's older. All of my other clients are female. And it's not that I did that on purpose. It's just
That's who gravitates to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I definitely do not date at work. I don't mix those two at all.
Yeah, when we've been getting to know each other, it's been probably 6 or 7 months that we've gotten a chance to chat and connect. And I know that we spent some time on the phone, but this important value keeps coming up for you, and it's honesty. Why is that so important to you?
Because for a number of reasons. I think one, it's really important to be honest with the person that you're dating, because otherwise it's not fair to them. I think it's important to be honest with yourself about yourself in order for you to get the most out of a situation that you want. I think you can't build anything if you don't have honesty and authenticity and transparency. And I think that a lot of times people don't like to have the difficult conversations. And sometimes it's hard to be honest because maybe you think you're going to hurt someone's feelings. Maybe you're afraid of the truth yourself, whatever it is. It's kind of hard to be completely honest and completely transparent sometimes because you're afraid of what will happen. Maybe you're afraid of like losing that person. But if you're not honest, you're not building anything that's going to last. You're not going to get anything out of that relationship. You're not building something that's worthwhile and meaningful, in my opinion.
What are people so afraid of when they're trying, or what are people so afraid of that they don't get real with themselves?
I think that it's really hard for people to have the courage to take a really good, long, hard, ugly look at themselves and be really honest about what they want, about what they have to offer another person, about the mistakes that they've made or are currently making. That's really hard for people to acknowledge those things. But if you don't acknowledge those things, if you don't get honest and real about those things, you're not going to change. You're just going to keep perpetuating the same pattern. It's like you're spinning your wheels in mud, and you're not going to find what you're really looking for. And then you're going to wake up one day, years down the road, and be like, oh man, like I made all of these mistakes so many times. And I think it takes like real, raw honesty to be able to make that kind of change.
And what do you think that people are going to find on the other side when they make that change or get real and honest with themselves?
I think they'll find things that are way better for them, things that serve them, people and things that bring them fulfillment and a sense of meaning. I think that's that's one of the things that you need to do to get to the next level.
Personally, professionally, romantically, all of the above.
Yeah,
definitely went through my time period where I wasn't being real with myself, and it was definitely a conscious choice at that time. So I do have some reflections back on the past and thinking, oh, I might have done something differently had I known then what I know now.
Yes, I have those too. I definitely, it takes a long time to be able to navigate dating, especially if you're coming from a marriage or a relationship that you've been in for a long time. When I became single, I think it's like 2.5, almost 3 years ago now, maybe. I had never done any kind of dating apps. I've never done online dating. I never even really dated because I think the last time I was single, I was like 19 or 20 for like 6 months or maybe even a year. And but after that, I was in a relationship and I lived with that person for years, and then I was married. So I never had the time to really be single and like be on my own. Really, I had to learn how to be comfortable being alone and not feeling lonely or like I was missing something. That took a little while. And then, but once I got there, it was like, I felt like nothing could touch me. like nothing, like nothing could hurt me because I was good enough, like on my own. That makes sense.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. I went through the same phase, and I hear what you're saying about like, I love my own company and I'm good enough to spend time with myself that I don't need another person to complete me.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't need another person to be happy because I'm happy with who I am and where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. And once you get to that point, you're able to attract better quality people into your life that are going to enhance your life and make your life even better instead of just trying to find whatever's convenient or trying to find the next thing, fling, or whatever it is you're doing, because you're not going to find fulfillment in that. You're not going to find a well-matched partner. You're going to be left disappointed over and over again.
And that's why I recommend people take time off after a relationship so often so that they can reset, so that they can fall back in love with themselves and find their priorities again and rebuild relationships with the people that family members or friends that are so important to them that they may have lost in that time frame during the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's hugely important. That's how you're setting yourself up not only for a better relationship with another person because you're getting connected to what you want, and you're resetting your standards, and you're also kind of like taking inventory of what you have to offer another person. And if you're setting it yourself up that way, you're basically setting yourself up for success, I think.
Agreed. So we'll pick right back up. We were talking about dating, but you recently interviewed me for Romper, your magazine.
I
And
did.
and we were talking about my definition of a soulmate.
Yes.
And I didn't get
Really?
say that.
Sorry,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, not you.
Um, so I actually really like your definition of a soulmate because I am kind of of the same mindset. I think that there are more than one person who could, give us what we're looking for and give us and have a fulfilling relationship, something that's meaningful, and that definitely gets that soulmate like feel when you're with them and as the relationship grows. Um, but I think looking for a well-matched partner can definitely give you that soulmate feeling. And there's more than one person. And I think the questions that you asked are really important. Like, does this person respect me? Is this person honest? Is this person contributing to my life in a way that's meaningful? Am I able to grow with this person? That's like my number one main like thing that I'm looking for, is someone who's going to grow with me and understand that this is like a partnership and it's a give and take, and I have things to offer and they want to, return. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like I'm investing this and they invest it back.
I love the growth mindset, especially in a relationship, because it means that your partner is going to be willing to, like you said, the tires spinning in the mud. Like, our lives are not always going to be on autopilot. They're not always going to be easy. And if we know that our partner is going to grow with us through that situation, then we're all that much more involved, getting in deep, confident that we have a support system and a partnership
Yeah.
that we're building together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that that's really hard to come by. Just like it's really hard it's easy to find someone that you think is attractive. Like anyone can make themselves look more attractive or look good on paper even. Like it's easy to come across those kinds of people. It's a little bit more difficult to have things that you connect on, you know, like important things or experiences that you both have shared, or like big kind of life things to align in those areas. That's a little bit harder to come by. But I think the most difficult thing to come by is someone who is willing to grow with you, or just grow in general. I think that a lot of people are really, can be really complacent and kind of stagnant. And I think sometimes it takes like a really big shift or something to happen in your life to motivate you to do the work and grow with someone. And I think it's really easy also for someone who has a growth mindset to outgrow people very fast who can't keep up. So that is personally, it's one of my biggest challenges in dating. It's really hard to find people who are like with you on that like path to growth.
Completely agree. And that's originally why we began the podcast in the first place. And that's why we chose authenticity as like the defining factor of this community being built on one thing. And when we find an authentic person who's mirroring us at the time that we meet them, and they're also growth minded, then we have all this opportunity to flourish in a relationship that we choose to be in every single day.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's the easy part is like, oh, I like you, you like me. Okay. Like, let's hang out. Let's whatever. But the hard part is to like recommit and decide that you like, yeah, this person is well matched for me. And this is the person that I want to grow with.
And how did you discover that authenticity was important, both for yourself to grow into that, and also when you're selecting somebody that your standards actually like will meet your standards so that you'll choose to spend time with them in your busy life?
Well, I guess it took me meeting people who weren't authentic and who weren't transparent and were more self-serving, I guess, than interested in maintaining the integrity of whatever we were trying to build, I guess, if that makes any sense.
I think it really does, because when you meet somebody who's not in alignment with you where you're currently at, it's going to show, and it's going to show very, very quickly. And it will almost like spark up your intuition immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And like I've been in situations before where it like has brought on anxiety because I'm like, wait, like this is not at all like what I thought. And that's, to be honest, who knows, maybe that's why I've not been so actively dating, because I've been I've had like those experiences with people that like I really had a connection with, or a person that I had like this real connection with, a lot of things in common, aligned in so many ways. But then when it came to that like one crucial thing, it was like they had nothing to offer there. And that's really disappointing, especially when you have invested like time with someone, emotional like investing and stuff like that. So yeah, you definitely start to build this intuition and you pick up on it and it doesn't feel good. So,
But that's what it's there
I'm
for.
exactly. That's what it's there for. And at least when you do have that experience, it kind of puts you on this other level, like, oh, okay, if that ever happens again, like you are out and it doesn't even affect you. Like,
I like to think of that as becoming more resilient through self-awareness and discovering what it is that we will settle, that we will continue to let happen.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah. So
we
you have to, mhm.
if we
No, I
set
was going to say you have to be, sorry. I think we're on a delay. Um, I was just going to say you have to be really self-aware, because it really, it does like foster a self-awareness too, because you have to really get in line with, aligned with what you want, and not be afraid to ask for what you want, and not be afraid to make room for what you want, which sometimes, and in fact almost all the time, you have to get rid of other things to be able to make room for the things that you do want. And I think that some and I think that people are afraid to do that, and you shouldn't be, because otherwise, if you're filling up your whole energy space with these things that aren't going to give you what you want, then you're not making room for the things that deserve to be there.
Completely agree. That's why I'm laughing. I know that people can't see that when you're talking, that I'm over here just like nodding my head and like, yep, 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 and an example that I can give to actually like completely solidify what you just said is, before we hit record, we were talking about my experience on the apps, and I become very overwhelmed very, very quickly with 3 businesses, my daughter, my social life, my dog, like all of these things stack up on top of each other, and there's very, very little room or even time left over for that social life, or connecting with somebody authentically. So I got to this overwhelmed point, and I had no more room left, and I had to look at things, and I'm like, all right, the apps have to go. And I had I had been talking with a client of mine. We get very open and real and raw in our personal training sessions, because that's the environment and the culture that we've created. But she's like, Dave, I challenge you to delete your apps for the weekend. And it sounds like this is a good opportunity to let go of some of those things that we can't control.
Yeah.
And I did for 3 days straight. All right, I don't see you from Friday at 8 a.m. You're going to be my accountability partner until Monday at 8 a.m. when our session is done again. And that first weekend was hard, but I came back from that weekend and I was like, okay, I'll reinstall Instagram and Facebook for personal reasons or business reasons. And then once I downloaded Psych, Bumble, and Hinge again, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to delete these accounts and delete the apps because they're not serving me.
Yeah.
And they were taking up room in my life for other things to come available.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that too. I have gone through, like I said, I've been single for like 2.5, 3 years. And I've been on and off of them. Like, it's very sporadic. I've never actually like used them so consistently that I was going out on dates like regularly. But I think it's true because it's distracting. It's really distracting. It takes up room on your phone. It takes up room in your mental space. It takes up room in your emotional life. Um, the only thing that I can say is that I think they're a good introductory tool. I've definitely met people on there that I would have never met in like real life. One of them happens to be like a really good friend of mine. So I think about that and I'm like, well, I gained this like really good friend. So I guess like I do see the value in it. And I do see the value also in uninstalling your social media, your dating apps, and all of that stuff. I regularly go on social media cleanses because it gets too noisy in the head, and it gets too distracting. And especially if you're trying to build a business or you're trying to stay intentional and focused, it can be really distracting and too noisy. And if you're in a relationship with someone, it also takes away from that, I think, too. But and also there's so many people on those apps too that it's almost like you don't know who you're meeting, which is like part of the interesting part, because you are meeting people who you wouldn't normally meet in real life. But at the same time, there's so many people. I think there's a lot of, like we were talking about, inauthentic people. Like I'm sure there's people who are like in relationships that are on those apps, and like it kind of opens you up for like lower quality
like
like
like vibrations, like
yeah,
your vibe attracts your tribe.
yes,
And if you're only, like, for a long time I didn't have any extra free time to meet people organically. I'm at work and I don't date clients. I'm at school and I don't date students. uh, i'm I'm a busy business owner, and so I thought that the apps were the only way that I was going to meet somebody. And so I tried, but I got overwhelmed, deleted them. And then within the next couple weeks, I was at a birthday party and actually met somebody that I had chemistry with, and
hmm
we'll see what happens.
that's I love that story. I in the same way, like I'm super busy. I'm like that's my mindset too. I need the apps because I don't date anyone at work. I don't date my clients. I don't meet anyone anywhere really. And it's strange because I live in a city with so many people, but the culture here is very like don't make eye contact. Like very everyone's like rushing somewhere. There's really not that kind of like connecting with other people, even though there's so many people here. I go to the gym and I work out, but it's really hard for me to meet people organically.
Mm-hmm.
But I can definitely see the value and the excitement of that because it's so rare, right? Like when you go to a party, you're not expecting to connect with anyone. And then when you do, you're like, oh, like this is awesome.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely needed to make room for that. I was holding myself back by only, yes, of course I was always open to meeting somebody in person, but for 6.5 months I wasn't drinking, and that makes it harder to even choose to go to a restaurant or a night out and be socially lubricated with alcohol or whatever.
Yeah.
But I had to make room because I didn't have any room left.
Yeah.
The one thing that had to go was the apps, and I'm eternally grateful. This is our 5th weekend in a row where we're doing a social media cleanse as a group, and I'm hoping that other people can see the benefit of what I've seen from periodically deleting Instagram, Facebook, and dating apps as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see the value in that. It kind of helps you also realign with yourself and what you want. And it does, open up the door to let better things, better quality things in.
Mm-hmm. That higher vibration to
Yeah.
attract better quality people. And that's what I was seeking for 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I think the apps can kind of weigh that down, and you have to do a lot. Could because also it takes a lot of attention and energy to weed through the people. So yeah.
Very true. So if your message resonates with somebody, what's coming up for you next that you want people to know about personally, professionally? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, my Instagram is my number one tool that I use to connect with people, and that's Ali K Fitness or Ali Kresta, just my name, ALIKRESTA. And so those are the tools that I use to connect with people the most. I write at Romper, which is part of Bustle Digital Group, has like 8 million readers a month. Has a big online presence. But I'm a staff writer on there, so you can check out my writer profile on there. And the Soulfire Sessions is my new podcast, which I'm really excited about because the whole foundation and the reason why I started that is because I want to help people live their best life emotionally, mentally, physically. And I think that the reason why I'm doing the podcast is to tap into that emotional spiritual, psychological part of the equation. I have my physical, like my fitness training that I do. That's kind of like the physical part, even though we dive into the mental area a little bit too. But the Soulfire Sessions is really like you can think of it as like medicine for your personal growth. It's something to listen to get yourself to help get to the next level of being mindful, feeling well in your emotional and mental and spiritual area.
Mm-hmm. I'm a weekly listener. I mean, when the episodes come out, of course, it's something that I jump on every time I see it come out. So thank you very much for being authentic and vulnerable on your podcast.
Thank you.
Why did you choose to do a whole episode on perfectionism?
Because I feel like if it's something that I'm struggling with, then there has to be so many other people that are dealing with this. And I use the podcast as my tool to help people overcome these things that really can hinder you and hold you back in life. And being a perfectionist has held me back from so many things because it's really easy for me to get caught up in I'm very diligent about my passion projects, which is not a bad thing, because if you're putting something out and you're putting your name on something, then you want it to be something that you're really proud of. But at the same time, you kind of have to surrender a little bit and accept that not everything is perfect ever. Not just your passion projects, but yourself and your relationships. And for me, that was one of the biggest things that I struggled with for so long, because I would hold back on releasing things that were good, really good, and I worked really hard on, but I would be like, oh, it just needs one more little tweak. And then I would like keep fixing it, and then it would just kind of like cycle down, and it would hold up my productivity a lot. And there's a certain degree of just kind of letting things roll that I think is important.
I asked that question because because of this last question. We'll wrap it up after this one. But do you believe that there's a perfect person out there for you?
Yes, I do. I think that there's a lot of different perfect people out there for everyone. I think that there's perfect friendships, perfect relationships, but I think that people get really caught up in trying to find the perfect person, meaning like they have an idea of who they want in their mind, and they see someone who reflects that, but it is actually a really bad match for them. And I've experienced that. I'm sure other people have too. But I think that there is a perfect person out there for you, meaning their imperfections are things that you find awesome or that aren't deal breakers. And I think that you kind of have to get into a way that you have to shift your mindset a little bit and become a little bit open-minded and not be so caught up in kind of superficial things that aren't really like that meaningful in terms of building something lasting and fulfilling in a relationship. And there's something else I wanted to say, but now I forgot.
That's right. I'm sure that it'll come to you, and we'll be able to catch up again in the next few months, and maybe do a Facebook Live or jump back on and check in with you on the podcast episode and see where you're at.
That would be so fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ali. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining me on the BBR podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.